thank you so much for joining us here today to talk about the North American market and ISS. So ISS has been with us for over 10 years and has seen the entire transition from our legacy products to Octoplant and all of the changes within AMDT. And we couldn't be more excited to have them as our first signed North America partner as we launch the partner program 2024. So thank you, Fraser, for being here.
Thanks, John.
What's the state of OT maturity across the North American industries today?
Yeah, and I think one differentiator is I think we're the only distributor that has Canada and the US.
Yes.
So we kind of have a foot in each country. But there's pretty consistencies with the territory where we really find there's a differentiator, so that level 3, 4 in the OT sort of maturity model versus some of our lower customers, which are kind of operating in the 1, 2 space. We find there's more opportunity being generated out of those sort of higher value targets.
Yeah, absolutely. And what sectors are currently leading the OT adoption within your region? The utilities, oil, gas.
Yeah, definitely oil and gas. Sort of the high value food and beverage manufacturing targets generally are more mature in their adoption, or where they are in their especially with what they're putting budgets into and putting standards in. Utilities, for sure. Critical infrastructure, so we're finding success, particularly with Octoplant and things like airports, transportation infrastructure, that kind of thing.
Sure. Within a lot of those verticals and those markets, we continue to see more regulations coming out. How does that, what role does these regulations play in driving the OT adoption?
So those regulatory bodies, they tend to push the sort of the demand for things like security and auditability and regulations, but they don't really do anything to drive the technology around it.
Okay.
It's actually one where we thought AMDT to work with bodies like NERC, SIP, and those kind of overarching organizations to actually create some demand based around a technology. So not necessarily specifying a vendor, but specifying the solution itself without actually, selling the product.
Right. Absolutely. And within that region, building resilience and driving innovation, where is really the focus areas within the North American manufacturing today?
I think out of those two categories, resilience is probably the leader. Generally, a lot of the organizations will follow what other companies are doing. We're kind of wait for somebody to be a leader before putting their own foot forward. We certainly see resilience on the IT side versus the OT, but we're working on driving that. And then, the innovation side still comes. It takes companies to kind of take some risk before it influences the rest of the market.
Yep, absolutely. And there's recently been, within the past 12 months, some changes within ISS, right? So how are you guys evolving, your services to address the needs of your clients today moving forward? Yeah,
we were just recently acquired in January. So we're working with some of our sub-channels to help promote Octoplant and hopefully develop an emerging market there that'll help kind of boost us. So we call it enablements. So we're working with their distribution channel to try and promote the product. We're also focusing on key system integrator partners, enabling them through some commercial models and enabling for services that might help us as well grow and promote Octoplant across a broader territory.
Yep. Yeah, and we know how important enabling not only our partners but also our customers and sub-channels and system integrators is to our business. So we appreciate all of those efforts as well. How are companies balancing the speed of digitalization with growing security concerns?
I find digitalization is kind of getting commoditized a little bit or less defined. It's 5 years ago it was more of the cutting edge term. Now that that could be anything from just automating reporting or having some analytics at a top level. We really find security is where the requirements are being more pointed and more driven. That's where Octoplant kind of fits in very well in that model.
Sure. And what are some of the biggest investment gaps within OT in the North American market?
The plant floor, from particularly a security standpoint, is just not getting the same investment that let's say at an IT or ERP level. The corporate systems get more of the budgets, more of the focus. And the investment itself, unless there's projects that are driving something where you can have software embedded in it, they just aren't getting the same recognition. We find you can have a multi-million-dollar project and $100,000 software line and it gets more scrutiny than $1 million tires for haulers.
Sure. And we continue to see, obviously budgets, opening up for more of this AI initiative and things like that. But, are customers demanding more automation in service delivery today, predictive monitoring and things like that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of requests around it, not clearly defined as of yet. We have a lot of people, asking, what are you guys doing for AI, or what do you guys have for predictive analytics, or that kind of advanced analytics model. But there's not a lot of definition around it. AI seems to be that leading sort of topic that everybody's putting some time or some investment into, but nobody's really got it clearly defined yet. And I don't think a lot of the vendors have anything that's like 100% ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think the biggest barrier to scaling Octoplant, the partnerships across North America, are today?
I think, it's just getting more of that understanding. You guys are kind of on the leading edge of this, we'll call it the overarching solution or strategy. So I think, it is still a grassroots education with customers right now. I think you guys can have some influence in that in terms of, I think you're getting recognition enough and being a market leader and certainly having kind of one, encompassing solution where you guys can start partnering or working with other vendors as being a complementary solution versus just being on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Stefan really touched on that yesterday and kind of what our vision and roadmap are going. And that's exactly where we want to play in the market and be that one source within your OT environment. So that's great. Looking forward, where do you see, the U.S. OT ecosystem in 5 years?
I think it's going to continue evolving. The one thing I think, and we're in a good position right now, is that we're, with partnering with EMDT, we have kind of that leading edge. So we kind of, I think, a 3 to 5 year head start before potentially competition starts coming in or things become standards. One thing we'd love to see, when you get an RFP out, that OT resilience or something along those lines is a checkbox versus a completely educational conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And lastly, Fraser, what's a personal lesson that you've learned from working within the North America and the clients that you work with at scale?
Like in the larger capacity?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it still comes down to the individual relationships, and I think one of the lessons that we're trying to, I guess, amplify is to move up and work with the right contacts, so that I think a lot of the time we're kind of in with the same level, or we're dealing with automation or software. We need to move those conversations up to those who manage the assets and make that kind of final budget sign off. And I think that's one of the biggest ways that we've been successful with our larger and footprint customers.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Fraser, for the insight and speaking with us today. We greatly appreciate it and look forward to the rest of the session.
Thanks, John.